Secretary of State, First Minister, honoured guests, you're very welcome this evening, and we're very pleased you have been able to join us for what is an important occasion for the FSB in Northern Ireland, the 10th anniversary of the Northern Ireland Policy Committee. In the late 1990s, the idea of devolution started to take hold across the UK. And as the FSB exists to promote the interests of small businesses, devolution suddenly created an opportunity to do this much more directly. Locally elected politicians were becoming responsible for local services and for influencing the local economic environment. In response, the FSB nationally had the foresight to commit the resources to let us more effectively engage with the emerging powers in Stormont. And for those early steps, the FSB Northern Ireland Policy Unit was born. The Policy Unit purpose is to understand the issues that matter to our members, to voice their concerns, to put forward policy ideas that will improve the business environment, and to resist proposals that would damage it, and to build a greater understanding of the vital role that small businesses, the typical businesses of Northern Ireland, play in our economy. The establishment of any new business is always difficult. It involves risk. It takes energy, resources, commitment, belief, and even good fortune. And that is what we experienced when we decided to establish the FSB Policy Unit in Northern Ireland. Our Policy Unit is a small business in its own right. It is now equipped with offices, facilities, and staff here in Northern Ireland to engage fully with our members on one hand and with our politicians and political system on the other. In our early days, we encountered and overcame many challenges. Indeed, one of the first came from the new position in which we found ourselves. As power was gradually moving from Westminster to Stormont, Secretary of State, we are grateful to you, not just for allowing us to hold this event here this evening, but for making Hillsborough Castle much more widely accessible to the people of Northern Ireland. A decade ago, the FSB asked for permission to hold an event here to launch our new policy unit, but the situation was different then and our request was turned down. Some other people suggested that this was because Lord Mandelson, the then Secretary of State, wanted to keep Hillsborough Castle private for himself and the benefit of hosting Westminster politicians rather than the new devolved ministers. And as you know, I couldn't possibly comment on that. However, the new Office of First Minister and Deputy First Minister instinctively shared our ambitions, and within a short time, the FSB Northern Ireland Policy Unit was launched here in Hillsborough Castle, with the First Minister, David Trimble, sharing our occasion, his first engagement as the First Minister, and this is a very light-hearted illustration of our origins and our purpose. But beneath our real purpose matters to all of us. It matters to everyone in this room and to every business owner in Northern Ireland, and frankly to everyone in Northern Ireland. Here more than anywhere else in the UK, small businesses are the foundation of the private sector. It is impossible to overstate how much we all need them to survive and thrive. From our grassroots upwards, the FSB engages with politicians to create a better environment for small businesses. In our first decade, our member surveys highlighted the difficulties they were experiencing in getting insurance. So we went to Westminster to fight for them to get business insurance, and at an affordable price. We lobbied locally on issues such as high energy prices and the cost of banking. Whilst we may have taken ground, these are campaigns that need to be fought over and over again. We worked to achieve the simplified workplace disputes resolution procedure to make it easier for small businesses to employ people, which is something we all want to encourage. However, we need to keep up our guard because there are always pressures on employers with more regulation and the constant threat of costly tribunals. And we campaigned to get small business rates relief introduced. being rewarded when it was launched in April last year, but immediately calling for the relief to be extended further. We have lobbied hard for better procurement for public bodies and are pleased to have Councillor Evelyn Robinson here from the Northern Ireland Local Government Association. And this is an organisation that recognises that much local councils can do for local businesses by using the procurement process well. And in cooperation with others, we are currently campaigning in pursuit of devolved powers over corporation tax. We may well hear more about that later from some of our speakers. And we have had many other campaigns over the past decade that has been legislated, introduced or amended or defeated to the benefit of small businesses. We fight to win on behalf of our members and for the benefit of all small businesses to make sure that our policy objectives are achieved. But our biggest achievement has been in persuading government at all levels to recognise that the FSB is the voice of business and seeking our views when making policy and law. This role is essential when speaking for entrepreneurs. Professor McGowan of the University of Ulster has identified a range of what he has described as the typical behavioural traits for entrepreneurs. They are calculated risk takers, tolerant of uncertainty and ambiguity. They have a high level of personal confidence, a high need for achievement, a low fear of failure. They are willful. And when you hear these descriptions, and when you think of the typical person from Northern Ireland, it seems to me that we may have an entire nation of entrepreneurs, or politicians for that matter. That is why we are using this anniversary to launch the FSB's National Real Life Entrepreneur Campaign. There is a manifesto for it on your table, which highlights what we are calling on government to do to help businesses and demonstrating what the FSB is doing for its members. We want people to recognise and appreciate entrepreneurs, to ensure that government at all levels value and support our risk takers, the people who are required to put the deeds of their house into the bank. These are the people on whose shoulders we are all placing our hopes and such a massive responsibility for getting out of the economic difficulties we face. We call for business and political leaders to become entrepreneur champions. And I'm delighted to confirm that the Secretary of State and the First Minister and the President of the Northern Ireland Local Government Association have all agreed to sign up here this evening as entrepreneur champions. That's what delayed is coming in for the meal there. We're getting all the signatures. And I would encourage all of our political representatives and indeed our civil servants to follow this lead and demonstrate your support for our entrepreneurs. Ladies and gentlemen, we have all got much still to do, but I hope that this evening demonstrates that if the spirit is willing, there's a lot that can be achieved. Thank you.